Welcome back to teleSUR English. We go at this moment live to Caracas as an Alba Movements, the Congregation of Social Movements, is gathering in Venezuela. Let's listen to its Secretary General, Rander Peña.
First, Bolivar spoke about the balance in universe, which today should be the idea of a world, multipolar world. From the ALBA movement, we are making an effort to make that a reality. They try to impose a reality on us regarding the international system, that it should be made of states, and within the states, peoples and movements are not in the equation of domination to understand the international system. Movements do not make part of it. Parties don't make part of it. Internal pressure groups do not make part of it because it's not the interest of the dominant. Make any advancement socially. And those who propose this theory, they say that even though in theory, the state, dominating a state is the first and utmost objective of any political action. But if states are important, political social movements are important, even more important, because they are the soul of a nation. So strengthening the soul of a nation is to strengthen the political equation of an organization and political and people's mobilization. Therefore, I say this because for countries and states for whom such popular movements became a government suddenly became invisible, because then we start to separate what we are in essence. What Venezuela is all about, Nicaragua, Cuba. It is a popular movement that took over power. So it's not them and us, but it's just us, which we have accomplished with inspiration, unity, with Hugo Chavez, Commander Daniel, Co-President Rosario, taking political power in each of our countries. Our leaders did that. But movements. So the cradle would be a political party and on a street, on a territory. So, beloved, inspiration from these leaders, whom all of them follow Bolivar's teachings, they become leaders of they bring a contribution to a multi-centered world. Today, as we celebrate the National Rebellion Day in Cuba, it is a coincidence, of course, that we had this meeting today. It was not meant to coincide. I mean, that Alba Movimientos or Alba Movement would meet on exactly the same day as Cuba celebrates national liberation. In Cuba inspires Latin America because Cuba started the flame in Latin America, at least, because what happened on July the 26th, 1953, that heroic, undefeated strength of Fidel Castro and Raúl Castro, is the flame in the prairie. The theoretical analysis, which some people would say does not apply, I think this time it does apply, because, summing up, if policy is the art of possible, but we need to make sure what is it that we cannot do in order to make policy real. And we can never forget the fact that the enemy is willing to go to whatever length, and not that because it's not just that we are not willing to do whatever, but we do mind about consequences. And if we don't, we would be like them, and we are not like the right fascists in Latin America. But how to tackle their influence. And there's a phrase I want to share with you, because I talk too much about stopping the enemy from advancing, and stopping the enemy from advancing, it's part of the Oracle of the Warriors, which we learned from Commander Hugo Chavez when talking to the deputies at the National Assembly. He said, whatever happens, we will overcome. And that whatever happens, we will overcome, it's from the Oracle of the Warrior, and I want to find the exact quote from the book. He said, whatever happens, we will overcome means, well, it had an antecedent, and that precedent was we need to put everything on the line. We would have triumphed. It's not that because of a divine condition, whatever we set to do will happen. It's not that because the planets align and we will be lucky and whatever we say will happen. That's not it. The thing is, for revolutionary people, we get twice as hard. We have the need to make things happen the way we dream of. We need to give our everything on political action. That's the only way in which we can accomplish anything. And giving everything from us implies, and I don't recall who said this, those who fight their whole lives are indispensable. So, the political struggle, those who choose to wage a political struggle as a way of life, our everyday life, it implies, first, that our life is not ours anymore. We are offering our life to the greater good. Therefore, our priorities are not just our personal priorities, but collective priorities. And it makes it a constant struggle, not just when we gather, but at all times. When we leave this meeting, some may say, okay, I'm going to switch to my personal agenda, my private agenda. I'm going to meet with my family, which of course is valid. And then I will forget about whatever we had agreed at the meeting. And perhaps I will rethink about all that again at the next summit or at whatever next meeting or in 15 days or whenever we might have agreed to meet each other. But during that time, between meeting and meeting, I will not be doing enough. But some of us, and I think we understood this with Hugo Chavez, some of us need to devote our whole life so that the rest of humanity can actually accomplish some degree of happiness. And in leaving our skin on the line, we might be overlooking many aspects of our lives. And we might be making mistakes, of course, but if one thing we cannot afford to do is to surrender in the political battle. Because we together are with a containment wall against the fascist Zionist right to prevent it from exterminating our peoples, and it'll depend a great deal on whatever we can do to be that contention wall, but so that we may evolve to an offensive stage, because resistance is okay, because we are preventing the enemy from making any advance, but if I don't make any advance on my own, it wouldn't be good. So it's on chapter 12 of the Oracle of the Warrior. I suggest you look it up for yourself. I think the book has like 21 chapters. Oh, it has 36 chapters, sorry. So if you Google up the Oracle of the Warrior, you would get all the chapters, but this is from chapter 12. When Commander Hugo Chavez spoke to us of whatever happens, we will overcome, it was not just an optimism statement, because anyone could interpret that as sheer optimism, but it was realistic. And on this 12th chapter, he says, it's enough. You have waited for a long time. You've decided to wait for things to carry on, to retake their natural course, but that person has advanced more than it was necessary, has stepped over everyone's dignity on its way. Many tears of frustration have been shed, and that entity does not repent, so you should cut that situation short. So face this situation, prevent them from making any more advance. Otherwise, innocent people will be suffering the despotism of this entity. If your shield is not enough, use your spear. If it weren't enough, use your sword. So risk losing everything in that combat. If you do that, you will always be victorious, whatever happens. And I believe that that's our political mission of the ALBA movements.
We're listening to Rander Peña. These are the words of the Secretary General of ALBA-TCP at this gathering. So we were looking at the Secretary of ALBA-TCP, Rander Peña, gave his statements at the gathering of ALBA movement. This is underway in Caracas. Let's recall that ALBA movements is the gathering of the ALBA-TCP social movements, and at this moment they are in Caracas holding this gathering. The gathering is seeking to point out the most important strategic objectives of the collective, objectives of the region at this moment. And we are giving the most important highlights of what is underway at this moment in Caracas. So we were listening to ALBA-TCP Secretary General Rander Peña at this ALBA movement gathering, the gathering of social movements linked to the ALBA-TCP group in this strategic goal of the movements of the region to continue towards cooperation and development. The only thing that the peoples cannot do is to surrender, were the words of Rander Peña. We will continue giving all the information in these gatherings that are taking place in Caracas, Venezuela at this moment. Stay tuned with teleSUR English.